Thank you.
To moderate from here. Thank you very much for a very insightful speech, and I'm pretty sure that the youngsters here have questions. If you don't mind, we'll, okay. Please identify yourself and into the microphone.
Okay. Salome Kilanova, Sokhumi Sakhamtsepo University. I'm Salome Kilanova from Sokhumi State University. At first, I have to admit that your speech was like kind of king's speech, and I'm really very proud that I am here today and I'm attending this meeting. So here we go. I'm a DP student from Sokhumi with a short personal story. I'm one of the hundreds of thousands of IDPs from Abkhazia who are still unable to return to their homes. There are so many reports on government human rights violations coming from Russian-occupied Georgian territories. I know that people live in unacceptable and often life-threatening conditions and are deprived of basic human rights. And NATO is an organization that is based on human rights. And so my question is that, what NATO and its member countries do in order to stop Russian rights, stop human rights violations in Georgian regions occupied by Russia, and also to help IDPs, to help internally displaced persons to return to their own homes. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I understand very well your concerns. NATO's position is very clear. We have made 100% clear that we insist on full respect for Georgia's sovereignty and territorial integrity. We pursue a non-recognition policy, which means that we will not recognize Abkhazia and South Ossetia as independent states. And we call upon Russia to live up fully to her international obligations. That includes, of course, full respect for human rights. This is our clear position, and we have an ongoing dialogue with Russia within the NATO-Russia Council, and during that, or in that dialogue, we raised these questions with our Russian interlocutors, and I do hope that a continued and firm position on that eventually will lead to a peaceful solution to the problems as regards the Georgian regions of Abkhazia and South Ossetia.
Thank you. Okay, there you go.
Mr. Secretary General, first of all, I want to say thank you for your visit in Georgia and especially for your meeting with Georgian students. I am Nana Berwashvili from Ilia State University, and I have one question. Today, Georgia is on the way to transition and changes, and for this time, we need the helpful advices for our friends. What kind of advices, remarks, and estimations can Anders Fogh Rasmussen give to Georgian government, society, and students? Thank you.
Sorry, could you give what to the students and government?
Advices, estimations, and remarks can you give to Georgian government, society, and students?
Towards what? To join the NATO, to build a prosperous country in general? Okay.
Yeah,
what would you,
but
wishes,
I think it will be very much the same piece of advice, because I think the most important piece of advice to give is to continue the reform process, not only because it is necessary to carry through reforms to qualify for a future NATO membership, but first and foremost because it is in the self-interest of Georgia and the Georgian people to modernize and reform your country. So this is actually the most important piece of advice. You have reformed your economy. Georgia has an open, free market-oriented economy, and thanks to that, Georgia has experienced very impressive economic growth rates, as I mentioned in my introduction, despite the international economic crisis. So it demonstrates that this is the right way forward to introduce market-oriented economic reforms. So my piece of advice would be continue on that path. And the same goes as far as democracy is concerned. A lively democratic political life is also essential to promote fresh ideas and renewal of your society. So basically, the advice I would give would be to follow what I said in my introduction.
Thank you. Well, in the spirit of keeping the gender balance equal, gentleman here, please.
Irakli Maisashvili, the student of the Faculty of Social and Political Sciences in Ivana Jawahishvili, Tbilisi State University. At first, Mr. Secretary General, I would like to thank you for coming here and express our great pleasure of meeting you. And my question concerns the Georgia's contribution in Afghanistan. I'm interested in the Georgian military officers. Do our officers participate in planning and management of military operations in Afghanistan? And also, if not, is it possible to let them get involved in this process to get a new kind of experience of fighting with terrorists? Thank you.
Yes, Georgian officers are involved in planning of operations in line with officers from other contributors to our ISAF operation. Obviously, the whole operation is under command of Commander ISAF, who is an American, General Allen. But within the ISAF command structure, Georgian officers participate in line with officers from other contributors. And the Georgian military contribution to our operation in Afghanistan is important for the operation in Afghanistan itself. It goes without saying. But furthermore, it helps to improve what we call interoperability between Georgian armed forces and NATO armed forces, because they learn how to cooperate. And that's a very important part also of reforming the Georgian armed forces. So there are many aspects in this. And of course, also for that reason, Georgian officers are fully involved in planning of our operations in Afghanistan.
Thank you. There's a lady over there, and then, yes, we'll turn to this side too.
Hello, Tiko Mamuchashvili from Free University of Tbilisi. Mr. Secretary General, at NATO Bucharest Summit of 2008, Denmark, of which you were the Prime Minister at the time, was among those countries which supported the idea to grant MEP, Membership Action Plan, to Georgia. Let me first thank you to your support, and this is my question. Ronald Asmus, the author of the book A Little War That Shook the World, sharply and objectively points out about the responsibilities of the West for the August War of 2008 and comes to the conclusion. Let me read it. Alliance leaders must summon the political will and strategic imaginations to rebuild and expand a democratic West. It is crucial that NATO's door remains open and that the prospect of future enlargement into Eurasia and across the wider Black Sea region be kept alive. Do you agree with this conclusion and recommendation? And if so, could you tell us what is being done to implement this extremely important project? Thank you.
I can confirm that I supported granting a membership action plan to Georgia. But actually, we have ended up with a framework for cooperation between Georgia and NATO, which is quite strong, despite the fact that we didn't approve a membership action plan. The fact is that Georgia presents an annual national plan, which is exactly the same as we do within a membership action plan. We have established a special commission, a NATO Georgia commission, which is the framework for cooperation between NATO and Georgia. And on top of that, we decided in Bucharest that Georgia will become member of NATO. So it's a quite strong framework for our cooperation. And so that's, of course, also part of my answer to your question. That's what we have done. I share the analysis that Georgia plays a very important strategic role. This is also a reason why we support Georgia's aspirations to become a member of our Euro-Atlantic family. So in concrete terms, what we do is to carry forward the cooperation between NATO and Georgia within the NATO-Georgia Commission. And I hope to see further progress in that respect in the coming years.
Thank you. Okay, there you go.
Well, good morning, first of all, Tiko Katsashvili, representing Grigol Robakidze University. I would like to ask you the following question. Dmitry Rogozin, Russia's ambassador to NATO, said that his primary success was to prevent Georgia and Ukraine from becoming the member state of NATO. What do you think about this issue? Has anything changed since he made this statement? And in your opinion, what are the chances that Georgia will be able to join to the alliance in future? What the perspective for Georgia? Thank you in advance.
I would like, first of all, to stress that no country outside NATO is able to veto any NATO decision on enlargement. And as I said in my introduction, our door remains open. It is clearly a NATO decision and a NATO decision only. If we will grant membership to other European countries. Our treaty is very clear. Article 10 in our treaty states that we may decide to give access to NATO to European countries that are able to contribute to the security in Europe and North America, and in a position to further the principles upon which we have built our alliance. So I can clearly dismiss the statement that Ambassador Rogozin or Russia have succeeded in preventing Georgia from becoming a member of NATO. This is, and this will remain, a responsibility for NATO only to make that decision, and it will be made based on a broad political analysis, and this is actually the reason why we have initiated a broad reform program in cooperation with the Georgian authorities, with the aim to prepare Georgia for a future membership of NATO. And that will be a NATO decision only.
Thank you. Okay, gentlemen back there, and then...
Georgi Chinchaladze, Ilia State University. My question concerning on regional security. Today in Caucasus region, we have situation, military political alliances between Armenia, Russia, Turkey, Azerbaijan, and Georgia tries to link west. So how do you think this kind of alliances guaranteeing security or vice versa, tensing the situation in the region? Thank you.
Seen from, I think the best way to answer that question would be to take the NATO perspective. We have established partnerships with countries in the region with the aim to improve the overall security. We do believe that such partnerships are valuable as a framework for political consultation as well as practical cooperation. We are not going to interfere with individual nations' decisions on partnerships and alliances, as I made clear in my introduction. We consider it a basic principle that it is for each individual country to decide its alliance affiliation and which partnerships they want to engage in. But seen from a NATO perspective, we do believe that our partnerships with countries in the region contribute to an improvement of the overall security in the Caucasus.
Thank you. Okay, please.
Mr. Secretary General, first of all, I want to thank you for your very important meeting in my country and for your comprehensive speech, but I have one question. You have mentioned that Georgia is an active and a valuable troop contributor to the operation led by NATO in Afghanistan. My country has already promised to send additional forces in Afghanistan. Georgian soldiers are fighting in one of the most dangerous Helmand province. And what's your comment? How do you assess the importance of contribution of Georgia in Afghanistan and the performance of Georgian soldiers there, and what good impacts it may have on the way of integration of my country in North Atlantic Treaty Organization? Thank you.
We appreciate very much the significant Georgian contribution to our operation in Afghanistan. Your soldiers do an outstanding job, and you're right in pointing to the fact that they operate in the Helmand province, one of the very hot spots in Afghanistan. And I'm also pleased to say that we clearly see that the ISAF troops in the Helmand province make a clear difference. Though we are still witnessing spectacular attacks, the reality is that overall we have seen a decrease in the number of enemy-initiated attacks, and not least in the Helmand province. Overall, in the Helmand province, we have seen a decrease in the number of attacks by around 30%, and in some districts even more, up to 80% decrease in the number of attacks. So we have seen a clear improvement of the overall security situation in Afghanistan, and not least in the Helmand province. And that's also thanks to all the efforts done by Georgian soldiers. As far as future membership of NATO is concerned, there is no direct and automatic link between a troop contribution and a future membership of NATO. An application for membership will be assessed on a much broader basis, including domestic reforms, as we have talked about today. But of course, it is important that such contributions to NATO-led operations contribute to an improvement of what I have already called the interoperability between your troops and NATO troops, their capability to work together. They learn how to act in joint operations. And that is, of course, an essential element in becoming a member in the future. So it's a necessary condition, but it's not sufficient. You need much more, and that's why we are talking about reforms on a broader scale.
Okay, risking too many questions, but this is the last one from over there, and then there'll be it.
Beka Vendeliani, Tbilisi State University. Georgia's integration in NATO is not just a foreign policy goal, but it's the choice of Georgian people, and about 80% of Georgians support NATO membership. Our country has achieved a lot, and you mentioned about it, and we implement new reforms, and now we feel that we are closer to NATO than several years ago. So my question is, what's your response to the expectations of Georgian people? Thank you.
You're right. You have done a lot. You have made significant progress. And in that respect, Georgia is closer to NATO today than 3 years ago when we took the decision in Bucharest that Georgia will become a member of NATO. But we also agree, all of us, that more work needs to be done. But I understand very well the expectations of the Georgian people. Georgia belongs to the Euro-Atlantic family. As I have outlined today, we share history, culture, values. So it's only natural that the Georgian people aspire to also become a future member of our alliance. And we have decided that you will become a member of our alliance, and our concrete response to the expectations of the Georgian people is that we stand ready to support you and support your government in carrying through the necessary reforms to qualify for a future membership of NATO. And I look very much forward to welcoming Georgia as a fully fledged member of the North Atlantic Alliance.
Thank you very much, Mr. Secretary General. I know that there are a lot more questions left, and I understand that you all want to answer, but I've noticed that Secretary General has a page on the Facebook, so I think you can answer through that. Thank you very much for coming to the university. It was wonderful.